Hello fellow makeup lovers, how are you guys doing today? So this video is going to be my battle of the green eyeshadow palettes. So I went through my entire collection. I pulled out all of my green palettes. I have them all stacked together now because I had them stacked for the thumbnail and I accidentally dropped like the first half, but I have them all categorized into 3 categories, which one is monochromatic green palettes, and then I've got ones that are like a mixture of green and another color. And then the third category is like when there's just like 4 shades of green in the palette, but I still felt like it was enough to talk about. So I love green eyeshadow. It's one of my favorite colors to wear. I feel like it is so beautiful and you can pair it with so many different things, and I'm just a green eyeshadow fanatic. So I've managed to gather quite a little collection of green palettes. I thought it'd be fun to go through and discuss all of them, and then I'll do a few swatches of my favorite shades of each as I'm going through. Let's just go ahead and jump on in. I've got palettes from indie brands, mainstream brands, affordable options, expensive-ish options, so lots of variety. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and start off with the monochromatic palettes first. And the one I have on top here is the Colourpop Just My Luck palette, which looks like this. It is plastic packaging, which is not my favorite. It retails... Oh gosh, okay, so I totally accidentally broke both of these shades when I dropped it twice, and these two here might be in the wrong spots. They might be mixed up, I'm not sure, but I feel like you can still see the overall look of the palette. So it does have a mirror. It retails for $12 and it has 9 grams of product. Every palette that I'm going to be talking about today is cruelty-free, but this one is also vegan. So I do like this, and I think that it's a really great green monochromatic palette option for the price, especially for $12. If you don't have a lot of greens in your collection and you want to dive into them a little bit, you can't go wrong with this palette. I find that overall the formula is pretty easy to use. It blends well. I like the metallics. I feel like they're everything is nice. There's nothing really bad to say about this, but it does overall give a very soft green look. And you can make it a little bit grungy with the shade Charmed and the shade Olive You, but for the most part, I feel like when I do looks with this, it ends up being kind of this monochromatic in-between pale green type of look. Not necessarily pale, but it's not going to be a bright green. It's not super grungy greens, so it just depends on what kind of look you're going for. If you are looking for these kind of soft greens, then I do really, really like it. So I'll go ahead and mention my favorites. Actually, I should say that the one thing I wish in this palette, I feel like these two mattes here are very similar. I wish that one of them had been taken out and they had added in like a really nice inner corner shade. I think that would have made this palette a lot more versatile. But I really love this shade Mary Jane. At first I thought it was like a really green gold, but mostly gold. Whereas in person it is very, very green. It's like a chartreuse. I really like it. I also really enjoy the shade Olive You, even though I broke it because I'm a mess. It's just a nice grungy olive. I love shades like that. And then I'll go ahead and swatch Charmed, which this shade is interesting because it's kind of like that dirty brown green shade. But when you mix that one with these other lighter greens, it ends up turning a little bit gray. So there's some swatches from the Just My Luck palette. Now let's see what damage I just did because I dropped like every palette that was in my lap. Okay. Wow, I didn't break anything. Talk about some troopers. So my overall thoughts on this palette is I do like it. I think it's good quality, really affordable. It's not my absolute favorite palette just because these are not the greens I tend to go for the most, but I do definitely think it's a nice addition. Alright, next I have the Secret palette from Focalure, and this was sent to me as PR. It retails for $9.99 and it has 11.25 grams. So I was really intrigued the moment I saw this palette. It is cardboard packaging and it has a small little mirror. So as you can see, it's pretty much a monochromatic color scheme, and I do really like this one. I like the colors that are in here. I like the different textures, but I find that it takes a little bit more work to use. The mattes are not bad, like they're pigmented and they're blendable, but they're somehow a little bit on the sheer side to just the way that they look on the eye. I find that I have other matte formulas I gravitate towards more and that I enjoy more, but it's definitely a really good palette for the price, and if you're just wanting to kind of dig into greens a little bit. I also really like the shimmers. I think that they have really beautiful options here, but I definitely prefer to use these with my finger. I find that they're a little bit hard to apply with a brush. They're almost like, they feel like cream shadows, honestly. Like when you stick your finger in, they just feel like cream. So they are really intense, but it's just hard to capture that intenseness with a brush. This one right here is kind of more of a topper, and it's got like a pink background with a like bright green going through it. So it's really beautiful. I love the creams. With a finger though, with a finger, which I personally don't mind applying my eyeshadow with a finger, but I know that for some people that could be a deal breaker. So I'm going to go through and swatch the matte shades too, just a few, just to show you what they look like. I feel like I like the variety in this a little bit more, so if I had to choose between the Just My Luck and this one, I would probably choose the Secret one, just like basing them both on their price tags. So there's what it swatches like. I have done a full video on this. I've done a lot of videos on a lot of these palettes, so I'll try and link them all down below. The only thing I would advise y'all with this is that Focalure is a legit company, but from what I understand, someone took and did like another website and used Focalure's branding and was scamming people, and it wasn't actually Focalure. So I would just be careful about where you order them from. I'll make sure to leave the legit website down below, but I know some people have bought them on AliExpress and got their orders and everything, so it's definitely a super affordable, cheaper palette, but I think that for the price and everything, it's definitely a good way to get into some greens. Although again, not my like end all be all green palette. We'll get there. Okay, so the next monochromatic palette that I have is the Give Me Glow Cosmetics Juicy Olive palette. They actually didn't have the product amount listed on the packaging or on the website. It was probably on the carton that I threw away. So I can't tell you that, but it is pretty big shadows, as you can see here. It's the like cardboard packaging. It has a nice little mirror. I really love the packaging of this. I think it's super cute. This palette is also vegan and it retails for $30. So I really love this palette. It's one of my favorite green palettes, and I think the reason why is because it is those grungy tones. Like these are the greens that I gravitate towards the most. I absolutely love the color story going on here, but also I find that if you want this color story, this is the only palette I can think of where it's just all in one place and it's just that. Like so many times you see these kind of colors and they're surrounded by other colors. I don't know if this makes sense, but if you want to get just these, I love this palette on its own as it is. Like, I think it's a great companion palette because there's so many other ones, which I'll mention later, where it's like a mixture of these kind of tones and then warm tones. And I agree that they look beautiful together. They work beautifully together. So if you already have warm palettes and you're wanting to add some grungy greens and you don't want to have repetitions and you get this, I think that they'll be great companions. And this alone is just so good. I find that the mattes aren't my absolute favorite 100% formula that I want to gravitate towards. I like them, they blend all right, but I feel like I have to use a smoother primer. If I use something tacky, they don't blend as well. The shimmers are really, really nice. I love the two shimmer options, so I love them. I'm going to go ahead and just swatch all of these just because there's only 6 shades here and because it's one of my favorites and I highly recommend it. It's also an indie brand, so there's the top 3. You can see really great pigmentation. Right, next for the bottom 3, this first one here, Garnish, is like the most beautiful green gold. I love that tone so, so much. So there is the Give Me Glow Juicy Olive palette. The one big downside to this is if you are not located in the US, shipping fee for Give Me Glow Cosmetics is like $35 or something crazy. So it definitely makes this palette like luxury pricing basically. So that's definitely unfortunate, and I really feel for anyone who's not located in the US and has to pay that price if they want this. I do plan on doing a duping version of this, and maybe I'll try and get that up sooner rather than later. I think I have a lot of shades from Sydney Grace Cosmetics that I think would be very similar, but overall I really, really love this color scheme of the palette, and it's one of my favorite green palettes, and if I had to knock down and like only choose just a select few of the green palettes that I have, this would be one of them. Alright, so now we're going to go ahead and move on to the next category of green eyeshadow palettes that are at least like more than half green. So here next I have, let me pull up on my sheet. This is the Luxe Beauty Something Fun palette that they recently released. I believe that this one is limited edition, but I think it's still available. And it retails for $35 and it has 10.8 grams of product. It also has cardboard packaging and it has like a sticker overlay on the front and the back. And it does not have a mirror, so it definitely does not feel luxury by any means, even though it is $35 and it's not that much product. But here's what it looks like. So this is mostly greens, and then it has a pop of like royal blue shimmer, a pastel matte blue, and then this is like a nice teal. So everything else from them except for that, oh, and there's a silver too. The silver is not green, but everything else is green. This white has a really nice, beautiful green duochrome to it. That's actually the shade that I have on my inner corner today. And also, I didn't film this look, so I figure I should mention really quickly on my lips. I have CoverGirl Caramel lipstick, but I did go and eat after I applied it and I didn't reapply it, so if it looks not that great, that's why. And then my highlighter is Luxe Beauty Mermaid Waters, which is a really nice, beautiful, like white to green highlighter. I don't know how much my camera's going to pick up the green. But anyways, as far as my thoughts on this palette, it's definitely not my favorite. I think that the shimmers are nice. I really like that they included this beautiful inner corner shade. Like, that's so up my alley. And this really bright lime green is nice. The thing is, though, that the mattes I just feel like are kind of sheer. And you definitely have to build them up when you put them on your eye. So it's just, the matte formula is not my favorite, and given that I don't love the matte formula, it is a little bit of a higher price tag. The packaging's not super nice or anything. It makes it harder to justify the price. So here's some quick little swatches. Another thing I don't 100% love about this palette is that there is no deepening shade, so I find that the looks kind of lack depth. This is basically as dark as you can go unless you want to go in with a shimmer through your outer V, which I did do that once, and I mean, it works, I guess, but it's definitely not my personal style or my preference. So this is one of those palettes I'm more likely to pull and use with something else, like using these fun shimmers with the Give Me Glow mattes. I'm more likely to do that, but just to use this on its own, it's not my favorite. It's kind of a regret that I bought it, so that's my thoughts. Alright, next I have the Certifeye Affinity 2 palette, and this retails for £32, which is approximately $40. It has 25.2 grams of product, and it is vegan. So it, again, is cardboard packaging. It says Dream Without Fear, Love Without Limits, which I think is super, super cute. And then here's what the inside looks like. It again just says the same little quote. So as you can see, there's a lot of green and blue going on here, which I think definitely works really well together. I do like this palette, and I think that I overall really enjoy the Certifeye formula. It's pretty easy to blend, more on the buildable side. I find that the shimmers are nice. I really like this one, Shuhaib. It's kind of like a topper duochrome, kind of interesting shade, although it's not that green overall. It's kind of more of a blue. And then there is this one here, which is called Bilal, and it's definitely more of just a satin, so it's not my absolute favorite. And then we have Chiffé, which is like a white to blue inner corner type shade. So for me, I feel like what this palette is lacking is there's not really a lot of options for green shimmers. So if you're looking for a green and a blue palette, I think that this is really nice. I do really like it, and I think that I like the blue shimmers more than I like the green option. There's this one, and then there's like this other duochrome here, and I like both of those a lot. So if you're looking for blue and green, I would recommend this, and I think you get a lot of colors and a lot of options and an easy formula to use. But if you're looking for just greens, it's not my favorite for just a monochromatic green look. I find that these shades are kind of similar. I do like the grungier greens, but again, there's like not a lot of depth as far as the greens go. There's not a super dark green. This one here, you can see it kind of just comes off as like a mid-tone green, and then when you get the deeper shades, they are blue. So I like the palette. I do. I'm happy I own it, but it's not my number one go-to for green looks, basically. So there's some swatches for you. I feel like I'm going to go ahead and do some swatches of the green mattes just to give you a better idea. So here's some of the mattes. So you can see overall it does give you a good amount of variety. I really like this shade here, Albert, the grungy one. That's probably my favorite from the palette. So I think it all just depends on what you're personally looking for. Again, one that I do like, but it's not my absolute favorite. I have another blue-green palette that I reach for and that I enjoy more, which we'll get to in a moment. Okay, next I have the Kaleidos Futurism 1 Sci-Fi Green palette. It retails for $24. Again, not sure how much product is in here. It's not listed, and it is also vegan. And this is a really nice palette. I love the packaging. It's probably one of my favorite packaging. Yes, it's either one or two for my favorite packaging of all the palettes I'm going to show today, just because it's so cool and innovative, and it looks so like sci-fi green, like Twilight Zone-esque. So here's what the color scheme is. There is a nice little mirror in there, which if you wanted to use, you could technically you can see your eyes with it. So this is kind of a smaller dupe version of the Melt Cosmetics Gemini palette. For me, when I swatched them next to each other, they did look pretty similar. I'll link the video that I did down below on this when I swatched them next to each other in case you're curious. But I know I have a friend, Love Pocket Change, and she compared them, and because she has deeper skin than I do and because she has olive undertones, colors obviously show up different on her, and she found that they were not comparable exactly, like a little bit, but not quite the same undertones. So that's something to keep in mind. But basically this is a green palette with a little bit of pop of warms. You've got an orange and a gold, and I do really love this because I feel like the mattes blend really well. They're super pigmented. The shimmers are incredibly metallic. The black is super, super nice and pigmented, easy to work with. Honestly, looking at the two greens, I do wish there was a little bit more of a variance between the two, because they are pretty similar colors. Although because I love greens, I'm not complaining. Like I'm all here for it. I'll take greens any way that you give them to me. So they do swatch a little bit more different than they look in the pan. One is slightly darker, but you can see that they are very, very similar. Here's what the metallic looks like. It is just, like, it feels wet to the touch. It is so creamy and intense. I love the Kaleidos matte, well, I like their matte formula too, but I love their metallics and the way that they look and the way that they catch the light. And then I'll go ahead and do a quick little pinky swatch of the black just to show you how pigmented it is. So overall, I am definitely a fan of this palette and all of my palettes from Kaleidos. So this is something I would recommend to someone who's wanting to have a little bit of green, because that's the green that you're getting, is just those three colors basically, and then you have the black, so you can add the black into the other colors and add in depth, and then you can also add in the gold, and the warm tone looks, or the warm matte looks really nice in the crease as a transition, and they mix really well together. So if you're looking for a little bit, just a touch of grungy green, a really nice matte black, a little pop of warm, then this could be a good palette option for you. And I think that the price and the packaging and how it blends and everything, like, I feel like it's all a good deal together. So I'm a fan. I like it. I don't know if I mentioned or not, but I did receive this as PR. Okay, next I have the Makeup Revolution Tasty Avocado palette, which retails for $15. So again, pretty affordable, and it has 22 grams of product. So let me open this bad boy up. Here's what it looks like. It is plastic packaging, but then like the front is like, it's very soft. I don't even know what to call it. It feels kind of like foam. Definitely not my favorite packaging. It's not like, I mean, I guess it's cute, but I'm not really, like, cutesy packaging isn't exactly my style. But anyways, I really just closed it. Okay, so it has a really nice mirror in it though, so you could definitely do your makeup with it, and it's very high quality, like, dang, a little too high quality. So here's what the color scheme looks like. It is mostly green, and then there's a little pops of blue and some pops of warm. I overall do really like this palette, especially for the price and the amount of shades that you get and the variety that you get. I really like the mattes. I find that they blend pretty well. They're a little bit more on the buildable side, but they're very easy to use, and I was pleasantly surprised by the mattes. The shimmers are a little strange because they've got two formulas going on here. They have like very soft satin shades, which, I mean, that's not really my absolute favorite. Like, just to show you, like, here's green gold. They are pigmented, but it's just a really soft satin. Here's Smoothie. But then they have these really amazing shades like Bite, oh gosh, Bite and Smash, and they look so intense, but they're so soft in the pan and they're so chunky, and it's hard to apply them, and you kind of have to find the right brush, and sometimes you have to wet it, or I don't know. They're very, very chunky, loosely packed shadows, so it's like, it's kind of like there's no happy medium. You either have just a really soft satin, or you have like this intense, hard to work with metallic. I don't even know. So here's some little swatches to show you. I don't know if you can tell just how like chunky that is. I feel like the more you blend it in, the better it looks. So it's definitely not my favorite, but because I think that the mattes are really nice, which I'm going to swatch them for you in just a moment. Let me wash off my fingers real quick. I think that, you know, some shades do take a little bit of work, but if you're looking for a lot of variety and you want some affordable green shadows, yes, like I said, it takes a little bit of work. It's not my absolute favorite formula, but if this is your budget and this is your price point, I think that you can get beautiful looks from it. And if you want to take a little bit of extra time to build them up, to make that really metallic shade work, like, you definitely can do that if you're willing to. So I hate to say that things are like good for the price, because I feel like a lot of times people use that as a way to like say like this is kind of crappy, but if you only have a few dollars, like, I guess it's fine, which I don't like to recommend things like that. But I feel like if you have a small budget and you're willing to work for your shadow and take 5 extra minutes in the morning to make it look really good, then this could be something good for you. So here's the matte shades, which you can see are pretty nice. Alright, so now moving on to another one of my absolute favorite palettes. This is the Whalesong palette from Menagerie Cosmetics. It retails for $29 for 24 grams, and it is vegan, and this was the other one that I was mentioning for favorite packaging. I just love the packaging of this. I think that it's so beautiful, and it's just stunning. So this is cardboard packaging, and then it does have a really nice mirror, although my palette is pretty dirty because these mattes have a lot of kick up, but I do not mind. It also says blue whales are the largest animals on earth with tongues weighing as much as an elephant. Every time I read that, it blows my mind. So here's the color story, and as you can see, there's definitely a mixture of blues and greens going on here. But I absolutely love the greens that are happening in this palette, especially this shade Plankton is kind of like a really interesting neutral green. It's like somewhere in between a brown and a green, and it's just, oh, I love it. The grunginess, my favorite. And then there's this shade Kelp, which again is so beautiful and such a cool green. So you've got a good variety of different green shades. This lighter one is kind of like a greeny blue, but I mean, it's more green than blue. And then you've got some nice deepening shades and a nice dark green as well. So the only thing I didn't love about this palette was the inner corner highlight option, but honestly, it's not bad. I like it, but it's just not my favorite for this color scheme. So I love these. I'm a little scared to swatch them on my arm because I do tend to stain, which is probably like my biggest con with this palette, is if you're looking for some really nice green shadows, this palette stains. So it depends. Are you okay with staining? Like, does it bother you a lot? Because if it does, then this is not the palette that I would recommend for you. I do find that the blue shades stain more than the green shades do, but I had staining either way. So I'll go ahead and do some swatches. Got Plankton here, which is such a cool shade. My fingers look so gross and dirty. I'll go ahead and do Fluke, Kelp, which these are very, very softly pressed, and you're gonna have a lot of kick up. I find that they're just so soft. Even with a brush, you want to be really, really careful. But the way that these mattes apply on the eye, they're just my favorite. They just look so, like, they have so much depth. It's really hard to describe, but they're really, really good. So I've done like a full first impression, and then I did a week of with this palette where I did 5 looks, and then I did a full review. So if you're looking for more information on this, I'll go ahead and link it down below. But absolutely love this palette. I'm going to go ahead and swatch a few more just to show you all the greens. Oops, that was a weird swatch, but I love them. So definitely one of my favorite options. And I think overall it is definitely more of the grungy greens. You're not going to get a super like true bright green look from this, but these are more of the colors that I gravitate towards. And I also love that they have lighter shades, medium shades, a nice deep green, so you have all the variety that you need. Or I have all the variety that I personally need. Maybe I should have swatched that last. That's it, like nothing else is coming off. Okay, so overall, absolutely 100% adore this palette. If you don't mind staining, highly recommend. One of my favorites, again, really cool little indie brand. Alright, I just realized there were more that I dropped on the floor and I totally forgot about. So next I have the Morphe Dark Magic palette. This retails for $15 and it has 16 grams of product. I really like the packaging. It's cardboard and then it does have a little mirror there. So this is the color story and I do really like the color story. It has some really nice cool tone neutrals and then some nice grungy greens. And I think if this was a really amazing formula, I would go hard for this palette. But I find that the mattes in here are a little bit patchy, not my favorite to blend. They're not bad, like I feel like they're not as bad as people made them out to be, at least not my palette. I know that there were some like, I don't know, differences and whatever, but for my personal palette, I didn't feel like it was as bad as people made it seem, but still not my favorite formula and not something that I'm like dying to tell people about or like dying to recommend. So you have like a nice silver shade and then you've got like a deeper satiny green and you've got like a gunmetal shade. So the shimmer options are not my absolute favorite. I wish there had been like a lighter, grungier, greeny color, but I guess that wouldn't exactly go with the color scheme because this is more all cool toned. But there's a shade right here called Potion, which is definitely really cool. I don't know how much you can see through my stained finger, but I really like the color of this. But again, I just feel like it doesn't blend the absolute best. I can make it blend, but it just takes a little bit of extra work. There's Inside Job here, which is a nice, really deep green. And then I guess I'll just go ahead and swatch Trickery, the satin green, which honestly, like the shimmers in here, I don't know. I just like the original Jack and Hill formula better, but there are some greens going on. So there's to give you an idea. For some reason, I feel like there were more greens in this. Maybe I should have included this in the last category now that I'm looking at it. Man, I feel like I'm a whole mess. A whole mess. So overall, my opinion on this palette is I slightly regret purchasing it. It's not my favorite, and because it's not my favorite, I don't reach for it a ton. I think that the color story of this is really nice, but I just don't like I said, the quality is just okay. Like, it's workable, but it's, I don't know. I feel like now, like 2019, like there's so many good formulas out there. Like why do I want to work this hard to make colors work that other brands have done so well? So alright, next I have the Colored Raine Safari Rain palette, which retails for $29 and has 12.9 grams of product. The packaging on this is really cool. And it's cardboard. It has a nice big mirror in there, and then it has like this really intense gold foiled packaging, which kind of makes it hard to show what the true colors are. But I really love this palette. It has that really nice mixture of warm tones and greens, and then there's a little bit of cool tones going on. But I just think that the Colored Raine formula is so good. I feel like it blends really well, and the metallics are so intense, especially this gold right here. Lioness, like, it is one of the most foiled shadows ever. This is the palette that I have on my eyes today, so I really love this. I think that just the color story in general, like, yes, there's only 9 shades, but I feel like no matter where you go with this, like, it always just ends up so beautiful. I really love the warm tones that are included in here, and I don't know, it's just that perfect mixture of between warms and green. So personally, if that's what you're looking for, this is probably what I would recommend, just because I feel like the tones are so rich. And if you, this is more of, you can do a full green look with it, which is what I did today. I put Congo Basin in my crease, and then I built it up a little bit, and then I used Jungle on my outer V, and then I used Green Valley on most of the lid, and then I took a little bit of Lioness on the front part, but then I ended up adding more Green Valley because I wanted it to be green, and Lioness is so intense that it kind of takes over the look. So I feel like this is more of a pop of green type of look overall. Maybe I should have included it in the last category. I'm a mess. I'm such a mess, but I just love it so much. So I'm going to go ahead and I'll swatch the greens for you. I also really love that this like really nice deep brown. I feel like it's so good for adding depth. And then I'm going to take a little bit of Lioness on my pinky just to show you. Like, look at that shade. It is so intense. So again, like I said, I guess this could have been the last category, but overall, I just really, really enjoy this palette. It's one of my favorite palettes that I've purchased this year, so I definitely recommend this for a pop of green. Alright, so next I have the Tribe palette from Juvia's Place. This retails for $20 and it has 17.8 grams of product. It is also vegan, and I'm pretty sure that it's my favorite palette from Juvia's Place. So the packaging is really nice. It is the typical Juvia's Place cardboard packaging. It does not have a mirror, but here's what it looks like on the inside. Again, it has like a super foiled packaging, which makes it hard to see the true colors. But I love the colors that are going on in here. I love the different accents. I know a lot of people compared the colored Raine one to this one, and I love them both so much. I feel like I love the light gold colors in the colored Raine one more than the ones that are in here. So it depends on what you're looking for, I guess, because I do feel like they're different color schemes, and the greens in the colored Raine one are more grungy, and the greens in here are definitely more bright. I mean, you do have one grungy green, but overall, between the different colors, I feel like it's more of a bright green look. So I'll go through and swatch them, and they do have the one little row of warm tones in the middle. So this palette, I feel like is more of a pop of warm than a pop of green. Super, super nice matte options. Like, I love that color. I personally feel like the Juvia's Place matte formula is more on the buildable side. It's pretty pigmented, but I normally have to do a few layers to get it right where I want it. So there's the green mattes. And then this shade right here, Coral, is one of my favorite shades and probably why I love this palette so much. It's just this really stunning white gold with like a green shift through it. Like, it is so, so beautiful. Stunning on the inner corner, stunning as a highlighter. Definitely so, so happy that they decided to include that. And then there is like a really, really deep teal metallic. I think what would make this palette for me is if one of these colors here had been a mid-tone green shimmer. I think that would have sealed the deal, but there is the greens from the Tribe palette. So overall, do really enjoy this. Again, it's only $20, so one of my favorites, and they do sales all the time, so if you can get this for $10, cannot beat it. Alright, now we're officially on the last category, which is palettes that have a pop of green. So I have the Blush Tribe Hasina 2 here, which retails for $22.99. Oh no, sorry, it retails for £22.99 pounds, and that's approximately $29, and it has 28 grams of product. So here's what the packaging looks like. Cardboard, and then here's the inside, no mirror. But I really love this palette. It has a mixture of going from purple to blue to green. So you've got two little rows of green here, which are some really nice shades. So I definitely wanted to include it. So I feel like overall you'll get a pretty bright green look from this. You've got a little bit of grunginess going on, but I'm just going to go ahead and swatch them. I really like the Blush Tribe formula. I find it really easy to blend, very pigmented, soft to the touch. So here are the matte options. Like, look at that black. I barely even like put my finger in there. And then I do appreciate that it has like a lighter green shimmer, which is super intense. It's kind of a greeny blue. And then a mid-tone green, which is a little bit more of a satin. So there are all the greens in the Hasina 2, and I do overall really like them. In fact, I think that they look really nice by themselves here, and it's kind of interesting because I don't really gravitate toward this palette and use it only for the greens, just because I love the full color scheme and the purples and the blues and I just love how they all play together, that I've rarely allowed myself to play with just the green. So looking at them like this, I do really like how it looks, and I think that you could definitely do some nice looks. I feel like when I look at this, I think one of these in the crease, this probably deepening the crease, this on the outer V, and then using one of these two shades on the lid. So that's kind of the like look that comes to mind with this. But overall, I think if you're looking for, again, a pop of green, I do really like the Blush Tribe formula, and I really like the colors that are accompanying the greens in here. So I think it just depends on what vibe you're going for. This is more of a bright green, and then it has the blues and the purples versus some of the other palettes I mentioned, which has like the grungy greens. Or it just depends on what greens you want to try and what you like and what you're comfortable with. Alright, next also from Blush Tribe is the Paulina palette, which I adore. I have a little bit of a bias because I love Paulina, but this retails for £21.99, and then it's approximately $28, and it has a net weight of 36 grams. So here's the packaging, cardboard, no mirror. But this is the color scheme. So there's 4 shades of green in here, and then the other 5 shades are pinks and purples. So I really love this color scheme in itself. I think that it's super cool and intriguing and inspiring, and I just love all the looks that I've done with this. I've done several green looks on my channel using this, so I know you'll be able to find something if you're looking to see more. So, I mean, you are a little bit limited in this palette because you've got 3 matte greens and then a matte shimmer, so you kind of, unless you incorporate the other colors, you end up with kind of the same vibes most of the time. But this light shade here, Friends, is one of my absolute favorite light greens. I've got a really nice dip going on in there. Could definitely see hitting pan on that in the near future. And then the 2 greens, I find that they're kind of similar on the eye. Like, I normally go in with Humble first, and then when I go in with Sage, I feel like it's just, it doesn't deepen it up that much. I wish it was just a little bit darker, but still, I really like it. And then Soli is a really cool green. I feel like it's kind of this interesting mix between a green and a silver, but I just love the combination. So let me just go ahead and swatch those for y'all. Again, I really like the Blush Tribe formula, so nothing bad to say there. I mean, even as I'm swatching Sage, I feel like it's a little bit drier to the touch, so maybe that's why it doesn't deepen as much. But there's the matte shades, and then here is Soli. So I think you do get a really cool, beautiful monochromatic green look from those 4 shades. Yeah, poor little Sage. He's not doing his best. I'm gonna build him up a little. Okay. So those are that palette. So overall, one of my favorites. I love the looks. I love Friends, but I think I would recommend this to someone who's also going to want the pinks and the purples, because that is making up more than half the palette. Okay, next I have the Pinky Rose Exotic Peacock palette, which retails for $24.99, and it has 21 grams of product. So I did use this when I did a video. It was like a week of green palettes, and I did 5 looks using 5 different green palettes. I used this in that video, but other than that, I don't think I've really talked about this on my channel all that much. So this palette is really cool. It has a very interesting combination of blues, purples, greens, and I really like the overall color scheme, but just zoning into the greens, there are some interesting colors. Like this one, Risque, was definitely the one that made me want to buy this palette. And then Erotic is a nice, really pretty olive green. And then you've got some brighter green tones as well. So I feel like there's no super, super deep green, and there's no super light green either. So I feel like most of the looks you do with this palette, if you're wanting to go monochromatic green, is going to end up being kind of mid-tone. But I do really like the colors that are in here, and I think that overall, again, I wouldn't recommend to buy this just for the greens. I'd want you to like what is around it as well. Actually, why does that look so much darker than I remembered? So there's some swatches, and I do overall really like it, but what I was saying is, you know, because it's only a portion of the color scheme, you definitely want to like what is happening around it. But I do really like the looks that I've done with it, and I think it's definitely a very inspiring palette. Let me go ahead and swatch that olive green. I mean, even though there is only like 5 green shades there, I feel like it definitely gives you some variety, so I like it. Alright, so my camera shows that it's starting to die, but thankfully I am now on the last palette. So for a pop of green, I have the Menagerie Cosmetics Feral palette, which I love the packaging for. I think it is stunning. And let me see, do I have this written down? Yes, it's $29 for 24 grams, and it is vegan. So it's, again, cardboard packaging, and here is what it looks like on the inside. It has the nice little mirror. So this does have some nice little pops of green. You've got these here, this really beautiful bright green metallic, which is super intense. And then wolfing is kind of a teal, so I don't know if you, some people might count it as a green, but I was going to focus on these three right here. I don't remember having any problems with these greens staining like the ones in the Whalesong do, but also I should mention that all of these are available as singles as well. So if you don't want to buy the whole palette and you just want to buy like these three pops of green, you're totally able to do that. But oh my gosh, this green shimmer Huchera is beautiful. It reminds me of Garnish from the Give Me Glow palette. So I feel like these three shades together are just a pop of green. You can do one look basically with them, or at least I imagine one main look with these three shades. It's not like there's room for that much variety. I mean, you can get kind of creative, but for a regular something in the crease, something in the outer V, something on the lid type of look, I feel like you're kind of limited. But I don't know why that one swatched so bad. I've never had a problem with how it applies. I do really like the variety here. I like how these shades mix with the other ones in the palette. I'll even go ahead and swatch the teal really quickly just to show you, because that adds in a little bit of extra brightness. So I love the Menagerie formula, and again, it just depends if you like what's happening around it, if you like the greens that are there, you know. I've been talking for way too long to make any sense. Alright, so I am like fully turned into the Hulk, minus the anger. So I hope this video was helpful for y'all. If you have any questions, please feel free to leave them down below, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.